Hey everyone, it's Gary here from Echidna Sewing. Today we're going to take a look at how to set a stop point and an offset point on the Halo-100 12 needle embroidery machine. So, why do you need a stop point or an offset point when you've got a 12 needle machine? The whole idea is to get through it really quickly and not have to stop and sort of babysit your machine. Well, there's many reasons. Firstly, it could be because you're doing an applique or an in the hoop project where at some point during the design, the machine needs to stop and wait for you to insert applique fabric or mylar or something that's going to enhance the design. Or, of course, if it's an in the hoop project, you'll have certain steps that you've got to actually insert parts of fabric and so on. It's a very common command, and the good thing is on the Halo 12 needle machine, it's a very easy command to do. So let's get into it. So I'm going to be using the bee design that we created for our bee challenge project, and the reason I'm using that is because this bee actually has a couple of requirements to stop, and so I can insert mylar and some puff stuff, 3D embroidery for a 3D effect. So, and on this design, if I have a look at my color sequence, I can see that there's a placement stitch at color stop number 3 to allow me to place mylar, and there's a placement stitch at color stop number 7 to allow me to place my puff stuff. So that's where I want to set my stop points. And there's two types of stop points. So I'm going to first of all show you how we can set an offset point, which means that when it stops, it won't only just stop with the machine in the stop position in the hoop in the standard place, but the hoop will actually automatically move out so you can access the design to put your whatever it is you're putting down. So, and then the second point will just do a stop point, so you can understand the difference. Now, in order to set an offset point, we have to go into the menus and actually determine where that offset point is. And you must do that specifically for the design you're about to stitch. First thing to do, I'm going to load the bee design, so I'll go into my design selection tool there, choose the bee, and I don't need to change anything, and in fact I'm not even going to move it within the hoop because it's just going to stitch perfectly in the center of the hoop, but you could change it to any position you want. In fact, if we have a look at our hoop selection tool, you'll see there I've got the correct hoop chosen, hoop number 4. My design is centered and I'm really happy with that. So we'll just get out of there for a moment. In order to set an offset point, you must go into embroidery mode. So click the little embroidery mode option, go from red to blue, and so now the design is in embroidery mode. Our button is blue there. And my next option is to go into my settings pages, and this is in order for me to set an offset point. And we go into professional parameters, frame parameters, page 2, setting offset point. Now at this point, a little screen appears where I can actually move my hoop. Now I want the hoop, when it stops, I want the hoop to move forward so I can easily access the part of the design where I want to place my mylar or applique fabric or whatever your project is. And to do that, I'm just going to move the hoop here until it just moves forward. I'm visually looking at it, I can see that's a good position for it. And all I need to do then is click the tick button, and I've now set my offset point. So we just got to set the commands now in the color palette. Now I've already loaded the design, obviously. Here's my colors that I'm using, starting with black, then yellow, and then this color here, the third color, is just a neutral color that is going to be my placement stitch. That needs to stitch, and then the machine needs to stop. So in order to stop after that is stitched, I just select the subsequent color, the next color, which is color stop number 4, and choose my offset command button down here. And this will give you a menu at the top, and you've got 3 options: no, offset point, and offset. When it's on no, obviously there's no stops. It's just going to continue doing what it has to do. If I select offset point, it means it will stop, and then the hoop will move to the offset point that I just set. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to keep that. If I had just set offset, it is just a stop, but I've chosen offset point. That's the key difference, the word point. So I hit enter, and that has now been set, and you'll notice here on color change number 4, it's using needle number 3, and that little crosshatch down there indicates that it has a command set to it. So my next stop is going to be at color stop number 7. So It's a little confusing here because the yellow thread that I'm using happens to be on needle number 7 as well. So, but color change number 7 is going to be this one here. So if I click that, that's the neutral color that I use for my placement stitch. You can see at the top there it says needle change or color change number 7. It's using needle 6. So I need to set my stop point at this point here. So we need 7 to stitch, and then it stops before it gets to the yellow. So I choose the stitch, the color that I want to stop before. So don't choose the color where your placement stitch is. That's not going to stop there. So it has to be the color change that is after the placement stitch. In this case, the yellow there. And I hit my offset tool, and this time, instead of setting an offset point, I'm just going to set offset. That means it's not going to move to that predetermined point. I will point out too, for those of you who are a bit more advanced and happy to play with this, when you choose offset, you can actually set your own offset point by setting in an actual value rather than going through the process of doing that predetermined offset point. You probably don't need to be honest. And in fact, in most cases, you're just going to set a stop point like I've just done now. So we'll just click OK to that, and you can see there's a little tiny crosshatch symbol there on that needle as well. So that's all set. I can now hit the save button. Now you must hit save. If I don't hit the green save button right now, it won't save any of the information that I put in there. So we click that, and I think we're good to start stitching. So before I hit the sew button, of course, I should just do a couple of checks, as you always should when you're doing an embroidery. For whatever reason, I'm on manual color change at the moment. I don't need that. I want full automatic, so the A with the 2 arrows there. I have set everything. I've set my colors. I'm happy with everything. And all I have to do now is hit the start button. So there we go. It's going to go to the correct color. Let's see what happens. So we've got to color stop number 3, and I've paused the machine so I can explain it. It's now going to do the placement stitch that we're going to use for our mylar insertion. So we'll turn that back on, and you'll see what happens at the end of this color change. Okay, so as you can see, it's actually stopped. I didn't touch anything on the screen, and it's moved the hoop forward. So that allows me to get my mylar and insert it in place. So now all I need to do is place my mylar down where I want it. Now, of course, you could tack that down or use some 505 spray or something. I'm just going to place it there and hit the start button, and we'll automatically go back to the correct position. Okay, I've paused the design again. You'll see we're almost finished this color change. Now, one thing I forgot to do is if I had to set a offset or a stop point after this light color had sewn down the mylar, it would also have stopped for me and allowed me to take the mylar out. So yeah, my bad. Just got to think about your design as you're loading it in and where you want your stop points. So I'll continue and finish that, and then I will stop it again manually. Okay, so at that point, of course, you would just take your mylar out. We don't need that anymore. We'll just tear that away. And those little bits won't particularly hurt, and we can continue on. Okay, so as you can see, it's stopped automatically at the placement stitch, and that allows me to put my bit of, in this case, puff stuff down. And all we're doing is just putting that just there, and I don't need to sort of worry about trimming that. I can trim that later, and we just hit the start button again. So there we have it. It's finished the design. All I need to do is take this out of the hoop now and cut away the excess here, and we'll go wash that out in a moment. But the point is here that using your stop commands and your offset commands is a great advantage on a multi-needle machine, because it really does automate the process even further. And as you can see by this fantastic little bee here, that it looks great now that it's been washed out, of course. You can see that it's a cool design, and you'll be able to do a lot more appliques and fun designs like this on your Halo-100. Hope you found that video helpful, and as always, happy sewing and embroidering.